But let me ask some of you who have done them, how did they go? I mean, did anybody ever have a legislative visit that you just felt like you knocked out of the park, you felt like it went so well, and you got your message across perfectly? Come on, a couple of you surely have had that happen. But it was a staff member, but that is okay, because a legislative office is more than just the elected official. It is all the people who support them in their work as well. Let me ask on the other end of the spectrum, has anybody ever done a legislative visit that just went awful, and you came out and you just thought, oh my gosh, what a waste of everybody's time? I've sure done ones like that. Well, one of the things that, and you know, Larry has kind of giving you such a pep talk about legislative visits that I sort of feel like I'm not sure what else I can add, but I kind of want to come at them from a little bit more, maybe a little bit different direction. And I want to start by saying that sometimes we can get a little bit unfocused and general in our legislative visits, and it's especially easy for that to happen when you're not 100% sure what you're talking about, and you're not 100% sure that they're sure what you're talking about, and you have so many thoughts in your head, and you just want to sort of communicate with this other person. Sometimes it is okay to have a general and unfocused legislative visit, and it is really important, sort of in that moving the mountain time frame, it is really important that we have space to be in relationship with legislators. This is not just an issue about, the legislature is not a store. This is not just a place that you go to get things you want, and legislators are not some kind of clerk who is there to get you your thing and everybody get on with it. Democracy is inherently a process of relationships. And Texas Impact and the faith community, we like to talk about that a lot. We like to talk about the importance of long-term relationships. But what I want to say to you is, right now and tomorrow morning are probably not the time to think about long-term relationships. Legislators right now are in some really tough spots. The mood in the Capitol, for a lot of people, feels like they are on a runaway train. It feels like there is a lot of stuff happening that they are not in control of. Most members are not very much in control of what's going on with the budget, but they know it's bad. Most members are not very much in control of redistricting, but they know it's potentially scary. They are not mostly in control of the biggest bills that are going to move through the process, but they want to be in control, and they mostly want to do a concrete job and represent their district. So the most helpful thing that you can do, and I truly don't mean to in any way sound patronizing or anything, but if you've ever been talking with someone who is in the middle of a crisis, and you know that the way that you talk to them is in small, understandable chunks, it is not, you don't try to give them a whole, sort of wagon full of information at one time because they won't be able to deal with it. You guide them through the process that they're going through. That is what's going on with legislators right now. Most of the offices that you will go to need to have information presented to them in a very concrete way. It needs to be very digestible for them. So what I want you to do is take out, does everybody have this paper? Do you all have this packet that's got the papers in it? Can you take out this green form? It says Legislative Visit Evaluation Form. So one of the ways that you can be concrete and focused and helpful, and I mean, let's think for a minute that the reason that we participate in this process is not adversarial, is it? Inherently, it's because we want to help. It's because we want to be part of a process that works and that builds the whole community that we live in together. So the best way for you to be constructive and be helpful is to be real sure that you know what the point is of the visit that you're making. So if you look at the sheet, you'll see there are some questions that you need to ask, you need to answer, to make sure that you've gotten the information across and you've gotten the information that you wanted. And I just kind of want to walk through the questions and see if anybody has questions about them, and I want to suggest to you that this is the way to frame your thoughts so that you can communicate effectively in a short period of time with someone who is feeling stressed and not able to walk very well with you if you're not focused. So the first question, other than these basic identifying pieces of information, is what was your goal? So before you go to your legislative visit, you would do well to have a goal. Your goal could be, I want to go tell my story. I don't have a solution. I want to make sure that I tell my story to this person, and if it takes me 3 minutes and then I'm done, then that's a good visit. Could be to investigate what someone's position on an issue is. So you may be going to specifically ask, do you or do you not support, or what is your position about whatever the issue is. Might be to ask a legislator to take a position on something. You have a package of one-pagers. They all include bill lists that are issues that ACT has positions on. You might be just wanting to go and talk about one of those bills. And let me say, in the amount of time that you have to have a legislative visit, you should just put all but one of those pages away and don't let yourself even think about the possibility of taking all of them out, because you don't have time to go through them and you will overwhelm anybody that you're talking to by sort of waving around a whole bunch of pieces of paper. If you have one piece of paper, that's good. You can say, I have a packet that I want to leave with you. So what was your goal in the first place? And then the second question is, did you get what you came for? And, you know, in parentheses it says, usually the answer will be not exactly, but. So it is okay to say, well, I went because I wanted to tell my story, and I felt like I kind of got to tell my story, but not really sure the person understood it the way I wanted them to. Or that is okay. I mean, it is okay if your answer is C-, I don't know, or inconclusive. But that's the thought you should have before you go into that office is, will I be able to say, when I go back out, whether I got what I came for or not in terms of my goal for this meeting? And my goal for this meeting, again, is to help this process, is help legislators make policies that benefit the whole state of Texas. What did you talk about in the meeting? It is important for you to put down on paper what you talked about before you kind of forget about it or all kind of mushes together. And you probably talk about several things, and maybe some of the things that you talk about will be personal, and that's good too. Maybe you have people you know in common in your local community or something like that. This is not probably going to be a meeting where you're going to have a lot of those kind of conversations, but to the extent that you do, it's worth kind of remembering that you made that connection. What did you learn about the person you talked to? We're on the second side of the paper. What did you learn about the person you talked to? And, what you learned about them, it is so easy to commodify the information that we get over in the pink building across the street. It is so easy to commodify it in terms of, well, I learned that they are related to someone who, is somehow helpful to me, and so they now have become a thing of value to me in my quest to win something in the Capitol. I want to urge you as much as possible not to resist as much as you can, and you won't be able to resist it 100%, but resist as much as you can the urge to commodify that legislative staffer that you talk to and think about them only in terms of their utility to you, and think about them instead as part of this community that you are investing yourself in by coming here in the first place. Did the person you talked to make any commitments you wish you had in writing? You can't get them in writing, but if they made any statements to you that if you think later, boy, I wish I had that in writing. I wish I had a tape recorder about when they said that. If you write them down quick, then it's kind of like they're in writing. They'll be in your writing. Did they ask for any specific follow-up? This is so important. I mean, what you're saying is, I'm coming into this process, I want to be with you. That is what you are saying to legislators when you go into the Capitol. I want to be here with you. I don't want to stand outside and throw rocks. I want to come in here with you, and I want to help you. So if you offer If you say, can I get you more information? And they say, I want that. I want more information. I want some statistics. I want the phone number of that person that you were talking about. It is so important that either you get it for them or somebody else, one of the ACT staff people or whoever the person in your local community is with that information, that you really do it. And when you do, you are proving even more that you are not looking at the Capitol as a store and you are not looking at legislators and their staffs as commodities, but that you really are participating fully with them. Did they give you any new information on your topic? That is sometimes really helpful information, not just for you in your local community, but for the ACT organizations. If somebody says something to you, like for instance, oh, that bill is dead, or I heard that they're voting on it in 15 minutes, or something like that, that's helpful. We'd definitely like to know that information. Also like to know more nuanced or general information. I thought Emily was asking a question, but she's telling me I have 5 minutes left. I'm sorry. Did the new information that you got create any new jobs for ACT? Did it create any new tasks that somebody else other than you needs to follow up on? And then finally, to be thinking really hard about whether you had all the information you needed to make sure that your visit was successful. Did you achieve your goal? Did you get what you came for? Would you have needed other information? And if you could have had it, what would it have been? Because the legislative process, you know, here in Texas, we make it such a piece of theater. It's 140 days once every 2 years, and it seems like every time when it's over, somehow it's going to be 1,000 years before it ever happens again. But that isn't true, is it? I mean, in truth, it is a constant process. It is continually going through iterations, and the information that you didn't have today that made it be that you couldn't tell the person the thing that if you could have told them, they would have understood in a new way. You can tell them tomorrow. It is okay to keep coming back to this process. It's just like what Larry said. And to wind it up, I have a quote, and it is a little bit different because I am representing the faith community in this community here. And so I have a quote from Annie Dillard that I would like to finish my talk with, but I think that it exactly echoes Larry's story. And the quote is this: "There were no formerly heroic times, and there was no formerly pure generation. There is nobody here but us chickens, and so it has always been. It is a weakening and discoloring idea that rustic people knew God once upon a time, or even knew selflessness or courage, but that it is too late for us. There was never a more holy time than ours. In any instant, you may avail yourself of the power to love." And what we are here for is all about love, isn't it? It is protecting what we love. So I ask you to keep that in your heart, and I think your visits will go fine.